Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 75. And as usual, I'm Mark.
And I'm Jasmine.
And this week, we're also joined by Matt from Talking Pop Culture, all the way from Australia.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Cheers for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate you jumping on as well. So,
we got three continents represented today.
Three continents, different time zones.
I know. Which has proved slightly difficult on my part to comprehend the idea of different time zones. So,
well, Matt's coming to us from the future, so
yeah, it's Saturday.
He's got the inside scoop.
Do you know what I was thinking about this earlier? Like, Jasmine, I don't know if you remember. Was it last November? Was the first time we ever did that. We had a guy called Derek on from Ireland, and this is like I think we've had him on one more time, but other than that, it's just pretty much the UK and America. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool that we've actually got three continents, three different time zones, all in one channel, basically. So for this week's review, we're reviewing the prequel to Army of the Dead, and that's Army of Thieves.
And spoiler warning, if you have not watched Army of Thieves on Netflix yet, you might want to pause this and come back later because we're about to ruin it all.
That's right. Before we jump into the review, though, as I do with anyone that comes onto the podcast for the first time, is put them in the hot seat, grill them, find out about that drug problem that they didn't tell us about. So it's just a joke, don't worry. But what I like to do is just find out more about you. And to start with, just before we start recording, we were making jokes about like we don't have many, sort of real life friends that actually like the similar things. But that actually is more interesting for me to find out. How did you get into comic books? How did you sort of find that love of pop culture?
Well, just as with everyone, Batman animated series as a young kid. When I first watched that, it's like bang, I started loving, like, my first actual favorite was The Flash. I've got a signed thing somewhere. John Wesley Snip back in 91. I was 5 years old then, giving you my age there, but I fell in love with The Flash. The Flash is actually my favorite superhero. And then when the Batman animated series, that's when I started seeing comic books. Like, I discovered a comic shop and then just started buying comics from there, or asking Santa to deliver me comics.
Jasmine's a big fan of the animated series, aren't you?
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
It's to this day, that came out in 1992, but to this day, that is still one of the best cartoons that you could watch. Stylistically, it still holds up really well.
Watch it over and over again. I can never get sick of that one.
Yeah.
I've never watched it. I used to be
what?
I may have seen it in passing, but I loved the Spider-Man the animated series. That's what I used to watch.
Oh my God. Batman the animated series, followed very closely by Batman Beyond. Man. I actually have I have all 4 seasons of Batman the Animated Series on DVD. I'm not fancy enough for Blu-ray, but I do have my first season autographed by Kevin Conroy.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
Yeah. So.
I don't think I realized that you had that. So you obviously met him.
Yeah, I met him that year that I went to New York Comic Con. So it's been a while.
So with that love of comic books, I'd love to know how you made the decision to start your own YouTube channel. Like what
well, that started off probably, time flies, 2 years ago, just as the pandemic whole started and we got locked up, and I thought, I'll start reviewing comics on Instagram. So I started off Instagram just reviewing comics. I met a bunch of guys from all around America. So we started doing podcasts on just Twitch. We do live streams. It was a virtual book club kind of thing. And then because like we were saying before recording, I just don't have any friend. Like, I have one friend, but I don't have a massive group of friends that like all the things that I like. They're more into I'm into my sports as well, but more of a love for the comics and film, and they're all, cars, sports, drinking, all that kind of partying. And I'm just, I'm a bit, and they've also got family and kids and they don't really have time for all that stuff anymore. But I met these guys in America. We started the podcast, and then I started my channel, the Talking Pop Culture channel, and just did it again to meet people. So we have a live stream every week where anyone can come in. If you're a subscriber, you're more than welcome to come in as well. And it's just a place just for people trying to build a community, so people to chill out and hang out and just talk about the things that we love and enjoy.
I didn't realize you, because I found you actually from your Instagram reviews.
Yeah.
I used to see your Instagram reviews quite regularly, and I think it was something like I noticed that you constantly made a comment about I get my comics late because I'm in Australia, and then I eventually made the sort of the move to start. I've watched quite a few of your videos on YouTube, and then I've been watching them for months, and I kept saying to Jasmine, "Oh, we've got to get Matt on the podcast." So I quite like watching his videos on YouTube. And then I think I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago and said, "Oh, do you fancy jumping on?" And but yeah, actually that's something. Oh, actually, I do want to ask you about the comics, but before I move on from you, they're expensive anyway. But no, before I move on from the YouTube channel, so I didn't realize you did podcasting as well as where do you do your podcasting, or do you still do it
on Spotify? Nah, the guys it's just gotten too hard, just people because there's like 7 of us.
Yeah,
it's just gotten hard just scheduling and that, and some weeks there'll be 2 of us, and some weeks there'll be 4 of us, and then. So we've just all kind of we just yesterday decided to just give it a rest a bit, but it was all on Manny did it on Spotify. He would load up on Spotify, iTunes, everything, put it on YouTube.
Manny, who's that?
Manny Reads Comics is his Instagram.
Oh, okay. I've seen that. I've seen him. Yeah. So
yeah. So he's the one that started it all. He's the one, the original guy that started it all. He invited people on Instagram to listen. I'm starting this virtual book club, and I said, "Yes, sweet. I'm on it." And then so it all just went from there, and then just decided, I'm gonna start doing YouTube as well. Like it all originated from that kind of idea. So
I can understand though what you mean though, having 7 of you trying to, I guess, in different time zones, like trying to manage that is probably hard work. So but it's nice that you've obviously thought, you know what though, I do love doing this, I'm gonna go and do my own thing. So and then obviously you've been quite successful with your live streams as well. You've started, I've noticed the last 7 weeks you've been doing live streams and having guests pop on. So a lot of people in the end seem to do live streams. It's just a way of like hanging out with people. So and I'm like you, I don't know many people in the real world that love comics as much as I do. In my life I have here and there met people in the UK that love them, but people never seem to stick with it as much as I do. Starting this sort of platform online has been brilliant to meet people like yourself and find other people that love it. And me and Jasmine keep saying, hopefully one day we can all meet up at a convention somewhere and just grab some beers in the real world. So one day I'm sure we'll all meet up at New York Comic Con or San Diego or something like that. So
it's funny that you say that, because I've planned that with the guys in America. But the thing is, with my starting my YouTube thing, I've met about 7 people from the same city in my city, same part of my city in Melbourne, and they're also a direct mark variant. They do podcasting and all that as well. So we've decided on the 27th of November we're going to do a pub crawl for comic shops. We're going to go to all the comic shops in Melbourne. Cool. Stipulation is you need to buy something, because obviously we've been in lockdown for 6 months, just to help them out. As well. So we've got to buy something. But again, if it wasn't for creating this, like you've done as well, like wouldn't have met those people, wouldn't be doing it. So it's a good thing to do, to build a community and relationship with people. So
maybe you should
pub crawl in a comic shop. I love it. I love that idea.
You should tell obviously it's your thing, but like tell the comic shops that you're coming and kind of do a bit of a, maybe you could get more people involved, because I see what you're trying to do. Like, let's support these comic shops that haven't earned money, and maybe like you could get more people involved in the pub crawl comic book thing. Like,
we just posted to say let people know in Melbourne if they're keen to come, they're more than welcome.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
A couple of comic shops have already offered us 10% off when we get there too, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
There you go. All right, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in London, the comic book shops just keep closing. So, not going to be able to. The pub crawl will consist of like 2 or 3 shops now. So
my local shop just expanded this year. Actually, they opened up their 7th location in my city.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So whilst doing YouTubing over the last 2 years, and do you know what, your story is very similar to ours, but also a lot of people's that. Lockdown started, it's like, we're not going anywhere, let's start this. And that's kind of like me and Jasmine, we've known each other for years beforehand, and we used to do like a blog together. But there was many things that it led to it closing, but I won't go into that now. But we sort of kept in touch, and it was like we wanted to jump into the world of like talking again about comics and pop culture. But I was like, Jasmine, that's not right about it anymore. That's not fun. That's not fun. Like, let's just chat. Like, and actually, to be honest with you, in the last 2 years, I've enjoyed this so much more than I have just writing reviews and managing people and all that kind of stuff. And it's just been so much more fun just sit here and just chat. You know, I was gonna say trying to hold back the swear words, so I can't help it, but chat the shit basically. Like, and so what I was wondering was yourself is obviously almost 2 years of doing it. Just what have you learned like about this world?
Well, thing is, I've learned more Marvel, so I'm learning more about like indies. Like I never read indies. Like I was one of those DC fanboys. Like I'll admit, I was one of those. I hated Marvel. There was more jealousy that their films was a lot better than DC films.
Yeah.
Like I'm a man. I'll admit things. And it was just learning that like indies. Like I knew they existed. You know what I mean? But just learning more about other companies, other heroes, other stuff, and just learning about that. And like, yeah, that's what I've enjoyed the most. And obviously meeting people as well. So getting other people's opinions and seeing other people's views on matters that happens in comic books as well.
And what about obviously running a channel as well though? Like, have you learned anything about running a channel, like whether it's even just technology or like just in general anything like that? Like, I mean,
StreamYards, we use StreamYards for our thingo, but I'm pretty up to date with technology. So with the StreamYards and that, like all of us guys me in Australia and the guys in America, we all just chipped in together and got StreamYards and just do it through that. And you learn about yourself as well when you're doing it. Like because we're all different people from all different countries all around the world. We all have different, cultures, different views and opinions, and that's what I've loved most about it. And that's what I was trying to build on my channel, like build a community where people can just come, hang out, chill out, be themselves, say what they want, do what they want.
I definitely think that's true about the different cultures and stuff like that. Like, so me and Jasmine, we have a monthly book club. We should have you back on it. Like, but we tend to read like what are in speech once considered like essential stuff, but we've read quite a lot of biography type stuff, that's been put in graphic novel format. And there's so much that like we both agree that we've learned. So I definitely think
I just learned something then. I've never knew there's biographies in graphic novel format.
Oh yeah. There's loads. What's the guy of the Star Trek?
George Takei. So he wrote a book. They called This Enemy, which was about him as a kid growing up in the Japanese internment camps that we had in the U.S. So just like nonfiction stories, but they're in graphic format. We had on a guest for March, which is a book it's a graphic novel, but it's like a graphic memoir about one of the civil rights leaders in the U.S. So just like to being able to learn more about actual stories, but in a graphic format, like getting rid of the idea that picture books.
So I love reading. I love reading like learning about history and all that stuff. But my problem is, I don't. Not that I can't read. I just don't like to read. Like I like to see a picture of the scenario instead of someone saying, "Oh, it was a dark, cold, lonely night." Like my mind just wanders off. Where if I got the picture and the speech bubbles, I'm a lot more focused.
That was the thing that we learned. It's so interesting the amount of nonfiction out there that's in graphic novel format. It's really kind of fantastic because it does give you something that's a little bit more digestible versus reading a 300-page biography with nothing but words and that's it.
Oh yeah, like we definitely think that's actually made us learn so much more. I'll point you in the direction of some of those like afterwards, but what I'd love to know is actually about the sort of the comics community in Australia. You talked a little bit about your chain, but I'd love to just hear, because I have actually watched your YouTube video, which I actually thought was really interesting, but not everybody listening to this may have listened to that. And I loved how you broke down why you mainly ship from America to Australia, and just I don't want to say much more. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just talk me through what are your buying habits and why you do them. And I know in the same video though you did say, look, I want to support local, but it's getting to a point where it's difficult to support local. So, and I agree with you. Sometimes, you know, you've got to look out for yourself as well as it's kind of a combination of both. So,
yeah, it's a tricky. I was confusing myself with that video for the amount of figures and numbers I was throwing out there. After I watched it, I was confused myself. I'm like, gee, did that make sense? But here in Australia, like obviously in America, you guys, I don't know how it works in the UK, but in America, your $3.99 cover book, you know, we pay about $8.50 Australian. You know, just for the record, an average job is maybe $24 an hour or something, $23 an hour. So 1 hour of work is 3 books if you work out like that. But it's just so expensive. Like I buy it from my comic shop online, which
yeah,
is,
I know them.
Yeah, in America. And they do the pre-orders. You get 35% off if you pre-order the 2 months in advance. And then obviously we do the conversion. And it's just that the amount, like I've gone from only reading, you know, I'll use a monthly format because I'm buying monthly. Like I'd probably buy 10, 11 books a month here in Australia by buying at the Australian shop because it's just expensive. Like it's like I was spending about 110, 120 bucks a week. It was just insane. And then buying it online, like my mate, the only mate that I have that likes comics was like, listen, there's a way, but we'll be a month behind because it'll get sent out every month. And then we did it. And I was just like, wow, I've quadrupled my pull list, and I've been exposed to all these indies and all more. I've been, you know, my Marvel list has grown. Like I used to have, you know, 10, 12 DC books. Now I've got my 10, 12 DC books. I've got about 10 Marvel, got about 10 indies. And it's keeps growing. Like I've still got more money. Like I've left myself a kitty to spend, and it keeps going. But it's just, you know, those $9.99 cover books, man, $21, like $21 Australian. And I get, you know, they got to ship it over. They've got to, you know, pay the cost to put on the rack, pay the staff members to work. And I get that they've got to make money off it. But yeah, it's hard. Like I buy my trade paperback still from the comic shop because the shipping costs, because that makes the package a lot heavier. The shipping costs are a lot more expensive if I was to buy trades in America, which would be a lot cheaper, but the shipping would be more expensive. So I still support them by buying trade paperbacks, buying all my toys. So still support them there. I'm good mates with the comic. I was going to the same comic. It was very, you know how it was so hard for me because I went to the same comic shop for about 11 years, every Saturday morning for 11 years straight. I stopped going. At that time, I just got a partner, and he's, you know, he would say, as soon as you get a partner, you'll stop buying comics. And it was just ironic that it wasn't the partner. It was more the fact that I started buying them from overseas. And it took me like 3 months to buy, because he always thought, yeah, you got a girlfriend, you got to spend your money in, you know, with her and that. And then it took me 3 months to just turn around and go, listen, I'm buying them online. And I explained it like I explained in that video. And he's like,
did you feel like you were cheating on him?
Oh, bad. You don't understand. Every time I went in there, like I'd go in there maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks. And like it's guilt. I've never felt bad guilt.
Yeah. I can understand that though. Like if you've been going there for so long and then to turn around going, look, I've got to go elsewhere. It's just too expensive.
You know, I was worried he might have thought I was shopping at another comic shop, you know, because I've been there for 11 years. He thought, maybe he found another comic shop. And I was just so worried about what to say.
To be honest, I've been collecting comics now for well over 20 years. There's been periods of time where I've stopped for different reasons, but where they've never been long, but it's always been a period of time. I think the longest time I did stop was when I got married. I literally had like no money, like bought a house, had a kid, got married, loads of shit, and like I probably didn't read for almost 2 years. Actually, that was horrible. Like, and but yeah, but I've been going to the same shop at that point. It was a shop in London. I used to buy monthly because I used to live outside London, and to go in and out of London every day, it was just a pain in the, or once a week was a pain in the arse. I used to go in once a month, and when I eventually left him, it was like you, but I was like, but it wasn't like I wasn't buying them at all. I just had to say, look, I just can't afford to buy them at the moment. Like, and he was like, come on, man. Like he's like, don't be tied down. I was like, it's not like that. It's not like that. Like, so
that's what I got.
Yeah. I was like, it's nothing to do with being tied down. It's not. I haven't been told not to buy them. I just know that I can't buy them. So, but like, so yeah, no, so it's quite cool to hear, like, obviously why you're doing it and stuff like that. But and it's like you say, I think you've been saying it a lot though. It's about supporting local as well as trying to. Unfortunately, you got to look out for yourself as well. So, what I'd love, there's a couple of questions I'd love to ask you about, sort of things you'd recommend. So we talked a minute ago about like essential graphic novels, and we've reviewed so far over 12 in our sort of monthly series of essential graphic novels. But is there anything that you stand out as like an essential graphic novel that you recommend to people? And like, because I always recommend Fables or Why the Last Man and stuff like that. Is there anything that you always shout out?
I've only recently, in the last 6 months, well, no, when Reckless first came out by Ed Broadbaker. I don't know if anyone's read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's Reckless, Friend of the Devil, and I just got the third one last week. It's just over there. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't read it. The third one, but man, like, love it. Like, this bloke is just insanely good. After I read the Reckless and the Friend of the Devil, those graphic novels, I then jumped on his old stuff. I read
like Criminal.
Kill or Be Killed. Yeah, I haven't read.
Yeah. I've read Kill or Be Killed.
Yeah, Kill or Be Killed was amazing, but yeah, like that obviously came out in the like a issue by issue, but the graphic novel, the Ed Broadbaker one, Reckless, I can't recommend that enough. And Friend of the Devil's just as good. I haven't read the third one yet. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
I was gonna say, might have to add those to our list because those are ones I keep looking at. Like,
well, we did love Pulp.
Yeah, Pulp came out
Pulp,
just before.
Yeah, sorry, I've got Pulp as well because I love my westerns.
Really good.
Got that. That was really good too.
I love Pulp so much. I bought it digital first, read it digital, and then I was like, no, I gotta have a hardback too. So then I turned around and I went and bought it in hardback also.
Oh, Pulp was amazing.
Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, that would have been the first because Pulp came out before Reckless. So Pulp was the first Ed Broadbaker, and then I got onto Reckless, and then that trilogy. I don't know if there's going to be a fourth one, but
I think there is going to be a fourth one. I think I heard there was going to be a fourth one. So somebody online had the third book, and they said something about the third book ending, and it heads into a fourth one or something. So. Nice. And I didn't know that either, but yeah, and I keep seeing those books, keep thinking we should get them. Like, so Jasmine, we might have to add that to our
put it on the list, man.
Yeah, put it on the list.
Ever-growing list.
Yeah, it's ever growing. So just before we move on though, like, I'd love to hear from you if there's anything that's been like your top reads or watches of 2021 so far, anything that kind of jumps out at you as like
Ordinary Gods. It's only 3 issues in, or 4 issues in now.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I've not read it, but
amazing. I'm loving that. As well as my westerns, I love my kung fu. So Firepower by
yes.
What's his name?
Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, Firepower. Absolutely loving that. And then Cole Higgins' Radiant Black.
Really? Did that one turn around? Because we read the first issue and both of us were like,
we didn't like the first issue.
A lot of people got turned off by the first issue. The second and third, the fourth issue is really good as well. It gets better, but like, everyone has different views and different opinions, but I love it, Radiant Black. And yeah, those probably they're the 3 that go straight to the top of my list once I get my big box of comics.
That must be like that. I'd actually love to see that when that comes. Like, how do you manage? So you get a month's worth of books in one go. Like, do you kind of like go through it all in one go? Do you have like a whole day that gets read, or do you then break it out over a month?
I'll grab them. I'm gonna try to reverse it because some mates that I've met on online told me to put my favorite ones at the bottom. Don't put my favorite ones at the top.
Yes.
My problem is I put all my favorite at the top. Once I read the favorite, and the ones that I'm not enjoying, I kind of just let go of. But I'll get the box, I'll organize what I'm going to read, and then I'll read 2 or 3 books just before I go to bed. It's my kind of relaxation, my meditation.
Yeah.
That is a good idea though. Like, people make the mistake of watching TV or playing video games and then going straight to bed, and then you kind of lay in bed for like half an hour, where I think when you read, you're starting to slow down. So look at us becoming like sleep gurus here. So
man, I got insomnia, so I wouldn't be it takes me like 2-3 hours to go to bed. I'm in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Listen, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I usually fall asleep with my controller still in my hand. Okay, so take that.
Well, as we said, like I'll just fall asleep on the sofa. So I'll be watching something and then wake up and I'm like, frick, I've done it again. So anyway, cheers for sort of giving me a bit of a rundown, on yourself and where you are in the comics world. And we're just gonna take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. And obviously that's just for the podcast, not for the video. So we are back.
All right, we're bringing it on. Army of Thieves, a prequel directed by Matthias Schweighöfer, screenplay by Shay Hatton, story by Zack Snyder and Shay Hatton. It is based on characters created by Zack Snyder. We were talking about this before we started recording. Before I watched the film, I was unaware that Snyder did not direct it. I assumed that he directed this one as well, but he did not. So again, it stars Matthias Schweighöfer, Nathalie Emmanuel, Ruby O'Fee, Stuart Martin, Goose Khan, and Jonathan Cohen.
So before we jump into it, Matt, have you watched the original Army of the Dead?
First one by Zack Snyder or the one 10, 15, the one 10, 15
No,
years
I know
ago?
the one that came out like this year. That's connected.
Yeah,
with
he
film.
was. I was just speaking to Jasmine before we're doing it. He was actually here in Australia before we went to lockdown promoting it. Well, I wasn't here. He was doing a live video feed talking about his film. Just as I think it was 2-3 days after it came out on Netflix. So he was at one of our Comic Cons talking about it. So I saw it that day that it came out because I didn't want to get any spoilers when I went to the Q&A session at Comic Con with him.
Okay,
but I just bringing it, Jasmine. I didn't know Matthias. I'm not even going to attempt his last name because I'll butcher it. I didn't know he directed it. I didn't know he directed it. Wow.
Yeah, he did. Which was I found a lot more impressive, I guess. Like I didn't realize that he had that kind of honestly, it's cheating jumping ahead, but I really love the design and the way that they did flashbacks in this one. I thought that was really, really great.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Before we jump into it, like Jasmine said, so when you watched Army of the Dead, obviously the one that came out this year, not any previous Armies of the Dead, what were your thoughts? Did you enjoy that movie?
Not really. I'll tell you what I gave, because at the end of the year on our show, we're going to do our top 10 shows, top 10 movies. I gave it a 5 out of 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10.
Wow, that's way different from what we scored it.
Oh, we loved it.
Yeah, we did.
See, I'm different. This one I'm giving about 7.5. I love this one a lot more better than Army of the Dead. I don't know if it was just because it went a little bit too long.
Yeah, that was the thing. Was really long. Yes.
That was the one thing. Yeah, that was our one. I think that was our only real criticism of Army of the Dead was the 2.5 hour thing, and we said they could have sort of maybe done 20 minutes off of that, and it'd been probably a lot better.
They could have done 40 minutes off, and it's been fine. That movie was entirely too long. It really was. And
the acting was good as well. I was very I'm a massive wrestling fan. I was very surprised with Batista's because he's not playing that big muscle. He played that more of emotional kind of guy, and you saw that kind of soft side to him. I enjoyed that, but it's just I don't know. It's just I try to watch it again for a second time because when I don't like movies, I try to watch it again. Even when I do like movies, I watch them again just to try to make sure that my opinion can be changed. But yeah, I just don't know. There was just something about it. I don't know. I like the layout of it was really good. I liked the way it was directed, but I just felt that the story could have been a bit better. The cinematography was really good. I just feel the story could have just been a little bit better. Don't ask me what I would have changed because I wouldn't.
I actually think most of it, it's difficult to say. We both say, all three of us agree it was run a bit too long, but it's difficult to pick what you would have cut. I think so.
The middle, I enjoyed the middle and the end a bit more than the start. I think maybe the start's what. Maybe
they did take a long time to get into it, but then I like the introduction to the characters, so maybe they could have trimmed down the introductions.
I would have cut out a lot with the zombies, honestly. I mean, I would have cut out all of the part with the daughter going to find the people that were in the camp, I'd have cut all of that out. I would have cut out
Yeah.
the whole like ritual in the pool with the zombies and the turning of the zombie. I'd have cut all of that out because I think it just stuff like that. It's better left to mystery. Like there's when there's some mystery to it, right? When you don't know what's going on. So there, I would have cut out a lot of the zombie stuff, honestly.
Unless it's important to later on, because there's obviously a third movie to come, isn't there? So we don't know how important it will be to later. It may turn out that it's not important at all. So anyway, I watched Army of the Dead. I think pretty much I really enjoyed it. Jasmine and me, we did a review on it when it came out. Had
We
no
gave it a
idea at that
4
point.
out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. And that was when we were averaging scores. Now we tend to basically we used to before we recorded, we used to heat it out and then put an average grade out. And now we're going. No, I actually said to her, do you know what? I think it makes it much better for listeners to just hear me and you argue over a grade.
Because we hardly ever have the same grade for anything.
Like so, and well, no, sometimes we do like go there or thereabouts, but sometimes like we'll watch something and like Jasmine will be like, yeah, 5, and I'm like 1, like or like actually I think that only happened with Mortal Kombat. Like
Mortal Kombat was fantastic. It's a 5. I don't care what you say.
So.
You don't want to know my rating for that then, but anyway.
Reason be damned. Mortal Kombat is perfect.
No, I want to know now, Matt. What would you give Mortal Kombat?
I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Oh,
that's still better than Mark's 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I was like 1 out of 5. I was like, I think that was when we were getting to the point where I was like, I think we should kind of stop averaging. Maybe we should just like do our own on the episode, which I think is actually quite good for people listening to hear like both our thoughts rather than here's an average score. But anyway, Jasmine, obviously, yeah, you watched Army of Dead as well, and yeah, so
I like the world that Army of the Dead created. I love that we got intelligent zombies. I thought that was a little bit different. Sometimes we get fast zombies, which fast zombies really freak me out.
Yeah.
But like, not only were these zombies fast, but they had like a hierarchy and they had some kind of depth to them. So I thought it was really interesting the way that they played the monsters. But what I love most about Army of the Dead was that it was literally a movie about a heist. Like, and it just happened to be set in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. So I thought that was really kind of cool. Heist movies are one of my favorite like genre of thriller films. Man, if you've not seen the Thomas Crown Affair, do yourself a favor and go and watch the Thomas Crown Affair. That is one of the best heist movies ever made. You could watch the original or you could watch the Pierce Brosnan one. They're both fantastic. Thomas Crown Affair, that's my recommendation for heist films.
I love heist movies, like things like The Italian Job.
Fun. Yeah.
Like I love the original, I love the remake. Like I you know, to be honest, the score, I do love heist movies. I do think it was really clever to do a heist movie and a zombie movie in one. Right. I was like, what a unique blend of genres.
Yeah,
like,
that's a genre mashup I didn't know I would enjoy, and I did enjoy it. I mean, other than the movie being a bit too long and some of the things just not making any sense at all. Overall, I just thought it was such a unique mashup that it was hard not to like it in my case.
I was liking, Jasmine, how you said the zombies were different. I liked how they had feelings.
Yeah.
Like when he's baby and like all the things that happen, they actually had feelings, these zombies. And that's what I liked. They weren't just dumb, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
They were a lot more smarter.
Yeah. Walking Dead zombies to me are not scary. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen Black Summer. Now that is a world of zombies you just wouldn't want to be in. So they run. They don't just run. They're like the Flash is probably too extreme, but they're like Olympic runners on speed. Like that's just like what they are. Like, you know, so
that's what stressed me out so bad about World War Z and 28 Days Later. Like those zombies move way too fast. And then I finally watched Train to Busan. God, that movie gave me nightmares. I was like, I don't ever want to get on a train ever again. Like this is insane.
So let's leave our thoughts there. We're not going to review Army of the Dead anymore, but Jasmine is the master of summary, so I'll hand over she's going to summarize Army of Thieves before we break it down.
All right, let me see if I can live up to that introduction. So Army of Thieves, we follow a character from the first film. However, we learned that he has a different name in Army of the Dead. He was called Dieter, Ludwig Dieter. And in this film, his name is actually Sebastian. So Sebastian, he's an amateur safecracker. He leads a very mundane, boring life. He does the same thing every single day, but he has a hobby, and his hobby is uploading videos to YouTube talking about his favorite locksmith of all time, who happens to be a fictional Hans Wagner. And Hans created this series of safes that are based on the Richard Wagner opera, The Ring Cycle. So all of the safes have all of these complicated names, but they each get progressively harder to open. So basically, it's sort of like the legendary story of the safes, right? It's almost like Indiana Jones and like the Last Crusade. You're looking for that one goblet in like this sea of crap, right? So the point of the film is like he is just a fanboy basically. So he gets approached by Nathalie Emanuel's character, who is Gwendolyn, and she's like, look, if you're as good as you say you are, then I got something that I think you'd be really interested in. And he's like, okay. So her goal is not to just steal the money that is inside of these giant safes, but she also just wants to become like this legendary thief. But legendary in the sense that she has cracked the 4 Wagner safes. So the first safe is the Rheingold. It's the easiest. It's in Paris. The second one is the Valkyrie, a little bit harder. That one is in, I think that one was in Prague.
Prague, yeah.
The Siegfried is even more complicated. That one is in, I think that was Switzerland. And of course, the coup d'etat, the Gotterdammerung, which is the safe that they crack in Army of the Dead. So this being a prequel, I thought it had a really nice kind of lead in to Army of the Dead. But that's pretty much it. We basically get Dieter's backstory on how he became this master safecracker, like secret that no one really knew about in the first film. He's the only character that kind of comes over. Then at the very end of the film, they kind of piece together the introduction that we get to Dieter in Army of the Dead. But basically, that's it. It's his backstory and how he became basically their ace in the hole in Army of the Dead.
I do love about like these heist type films, though, like how they're always set in these places in Europe, and so unfortunately, out of all of them, the only one I've been to is France. I have not been to Prague or Switzerland. One day I'll go. So
I've only been to Italy in Europe. That's it. I've been to several places in Asia and the Asia Pacific region.
I've been to Greece. I've been to Greece.
Never been to Greece.
I've never been to Greece, and I'm the closest. And do you know what though? Whenever I go anywhere, it's always America or like Caribbean or Barbados or Bahamas. I mean, but I like seem to go all around America or in different places. I love America, although I keep saying my next holiday, and I'm not just saying this because Matt's on there, like Australia. Like I've got a couple holidays lined up for next year, but I've said to my wife, the next holiday, we've got to do it. It's got to be Australia. Like I don't care. Like I know it's a lot of money, but that's what we've got to do. So anyway, thank you for summarizing. Well done, Jasmine. And we'll go around the virtual room, but just initial thoughts on this movie. Like we'll start with our guest, Matt. What are your sort of, I guess, 2-minute thoughts on this movie? Don't rate it or anything like that, but just like your overall thoughts.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed it. I like as soon as Nathalie Emmanuel, I'm really bad at pronouncing last name. So I didn't know she was in it, and she's one of my favorite female actresses. So as soon as I saw her in it, I was like, oh sweet, this is already going to be good. But Matthias, the guy that plays Sebastian, he's just acting in it was just sensational. Like he was my favorite in Army of the Dead, and that's why I was kind of happy about getting the prequel with him. And he was just, the way he is in it is just amazing. And I kind of laugh because, him being a YouTuber guy and, having the 0 views. I'm like, gee, that takes me back to when I first started. Sometimes it's like that now as well. But, and he's just, he could really carry. Like, I'm just blown away that he directed it as well now. Like, I did not know that, and just knowing that he captured the right moments as a director as well, which just makes me enjoy the film a lot more. But I love the story. I love the whole heist thing. Absolutely loved it. I also liked Brad Cage, named after Brad Pitt and
Nick Cage.
Nicolas Cage. I actually enjoyed it. Like, I like bad guys in the films. I'm one of those guys that I like bad guys too. So he made me laugh, that bloke. He reminded me of Johnny Cage kind of from Mortal
Yes.
Kombat. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he
was like a hybrid of all these different,
Yeah.
like you say, like
Well, he was obsessed with being
heroes.
like an American action hero. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so I really, absolutely enjoyed this one a lot better than the first one. And I actually really hope that, not just because she's my favorite actress, that maybe we get a spin-off with her, what happens with her, because obviously she's locked up now, so maybe, because I'm going to be really bad. Did he die in Army of the Dead?
Yes.
No.
Well.
No.
It's hard to say. He pushed.
No, we always say, Jasmine, if there's nobody,
but there was a nuclear bomb. Okay, that like
yeah,
that makes things a little bit more complicated. But he pushed Omari Hardwick's character into the safe, and then he got captured by the king of the zombies at the end, and then the bomb goes off. And so, like, we have no idea if the zombies survived the bomb going off or not. But there was no body.
He could have went back in the safe. He could have went back in the safe. He could have came out, saved him. We don't know, but yeah, I hope maybe possibly another film, him breaking her out of jail or something, if he's still alive, or just I would like.
I thought. Sorry, I didn't watch. I'm sure. Didn't he go in the safe?
No, he pushed Omari Hardwick in the safe and
he pushed Omari Hardwick in the safe.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got confused. I thought he went in the safe as well.
Nah. I remember him getting captured, but like you said, they never showed.
Like, I remember that
they showed him getting bitten, but they didn't show But the king zombie could turn people into, like intelligent zombies. So like maybe he got conscripted into the Army of the Dead. Who knows? Like if the nuclear bomb didn't get them, then it's possible that Dieter or Sebastian could still be alive. It's possible.
And I like that the girl who played Karina. Like,
oh yeah, she was fun.
The IT. It was great cast. They all had great chemistry. And that's what I love. Like, when I watch films, especially when it's a big cast, kind of all having the same amount of roles, they need to have that chemistry. And 100% this show had all that chemistry.
I agree.
Yeah, no. What about you, Jasmine? What are your summary of the movie?
I absolutely loved this film. Like, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, but this film reminded me so much of Ocean's 11 with the way that they told the story and with the way that they show you how the plan is laid out versus talking you through the plan and then showing you how the plan plays out. So one of my favorite parts in the way that was all like planned, I guess, is the very first heist in Paris, the smallest of the banks, the smallest of the safes. And how Sebastian is always like, no, I have questions. Like, are we sure this is going to work? And, he's being his normal nervous self. And she's like, well, do you want to talk through it again? And he's like, yes, I do. So as they're talking through it, we're actually going through all of the motions on screen. And then we come back to the van and he's like, this is never going to work. And then she looks down and he has a bag of money in his lap. And she's like, but it's already done. And I was like, that is brilliant. That is such a really cool way to tell the story by like giving the audience the information without having to like repeat yourself, because you've gone through the plan, you've given us everything again. And by the time we come back to the present, it's like, oh, but we're done. Like it's so tongue in cheek, but it was done so well. And so I really love the way that they kind of space those things out. I also love the way that Sebastian tells the story of the safes and how they flash back to Wagner making the safes and just like the amount of detailing that they put into the story behind each one of these massive things. I really love the way that they told the story in this one. And this was long. It was over 2 hours long, but this film didn't feel long like the first one did. It like once it started, it was just kind of like once we got to that safe competition at the secret place, it was just all uphill from there. Like there were no lulls. There was no like, we could have left that part out. So I just it flowed really well. I enjoyed it. The cinematography was great. It almost felt like a Bond slash Fast and Furious film if they were like mashed up together into like their own genre. But I think that had a lot to do with them filming in and around like the actual places where they were supposed to be in the film. So they did a lot of filming in Germany and in the Czech Republic. So it's great. The scenery was great. I love the dialogue. I love the tongue in cheek. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this one.
And the fact that he got his name from a comic book that he was creating.
Yes,
that's how he got his name.
That. Yeah, that's where he came up with his fake name of Ludwig Dieter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, jumping on, I don't want to say too much more than what you guys already said, but I really did enjoy this movie. I thought it was great. I liked the fact that it was more of a 2-hour film. I think there's certain films that you need 2, 3, 4 hours. Lord of the Rings, I'll never complain about how long those films are. Versus The Hobbit, that was unnecessary. I mean, we're not going to talk about it now, but I watched Dune this week, 2.5 hours long. That should have been like a 4-hour movie. Like they should have, the studio should, well, 3 or 4 hour movie. The studio should have been brave enough to pull the trigger on that. Like, because apparently he wanted it to be longer and the studio said no. So anyway, this movie I think was actually a good time, like 2 hours ish. I think it was just a couple minutes more than 2 hours. I loved the whole style of this movie. Like, from like, I didn't mind the slowness at the beginning, and I love the fact that kind of it's driven home to you like another boring day. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was when he laid down at the night in his pajamas, and his pajamas matched his bed sheets.
Oh my god, that popped out at me too. I was like, who does that?
I know, but I think that was to really drive home how boring his life was. That you would match your pajamas to your bed sheets. Like, no one would do that. Like, no one would have that attention to detail. I don't even care sometimes if I've got sheets on the bed. If I'm tired, I'm tired. Like, but I guess if you're living on your own and you've not got a lot going on, that's kind of what my mind started to work around. Why, the bed sheets, why would anyone do that? And I'm like, well, maybe if you're living on your own and you've already said another boring day, maybe these things just help you get through a boring day. But earlier we talked about the different characters. I love the introduction. So when Gwendolyn is introducing sort of Dieter to her sort of ragtag group, I loved even the sort of the wording, the typography that comes up on the screen.
Oh yeah.
And then I love the constant use of flashbacks throughout the movie. So I mean, me and Jasmine have talked about flashbacks in previous episodes and how not everywhere is suited to flashbacks, but I love the flashbacks and how they worked through the movie. And I love how we start with sort of small heists building up to the large big one, and also like Matt, I agree with you on the villain, or almost like the two villains, and I loved how it linked into an overall movie in part of a sort of a universe type thing. Anyway, we'll break it down more as we go, but I enjoyed this movie. I started to think like, it's such a shame that this goes straight into Army of the Dead. I thought I could have happily have had another prequel of this, I could have happily have had maybe more of another heist movie or something. It would had to have been well done to have fitted in another prequel, but or maybe we'll get another prequel. Maybe we'll get to find out what happened to their safe cracker. Maybe we'll go back even further or something, because you said it'd be great to see a Gwendolyn prequel or a Gwendolyn movie. Maybe we'll get a Gwendolyn. Or maybe Netflix will do what they always do. Maybe they'll give us an anime. Actually, there is going to be an Army. There is going to be an Army of the Dead anime. There is going to be an Army of the Dead anime, but that probably will be the zombie thing. But I was thinking more like, how cool would it be if they gave like Gwendolyn her own anime movie or something like that? So,
I think the anime was about how the zombies become created.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are looking for an anime that is about heists, then you should watch The Great Pretender. It is fantastic.
check that one out.
Matt. Whilst me and you, we have a great love of comics. Jasmine is the anime guru. So
Yeah, I'm getting onto it. Don't worry. I keep hearing about people loving anime. I'm going to get there.
do you know what? There is an anime. 3 episodes are coming out tomorrow on the 7th, I believe, of Arcane on Netflix, which I really, really want to watch. Have you heard of it, Jasmine?
No.
Yes.
Are you watching it?
No.
Wait, what? Oh, you don't want to watch it?
No, I maybe.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. The way you said
stuff
that
is not really my thing, though.
the way you said no, I was like, oh, it looks so beautiful. Like, honestly, like, and I'm not the anime fan of the two of us, but I'm like, I've got to watch that. Like, so anyway, right, okay. We just talked about characters. Matt, who's your favorite character of this movie?
Gwendolyn, is that a question? Of course, I'm going to say her. I love her. She's my favorite. Nah, her.
And why?
Like it. Like I want to say, Brad Cage. Like.
Go on, say Brad Cage. Go on.
I want to say Brad Cage because I just
own
like
it.
the way he was.
Yeah.
I just like the way he acted. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I look at it like that. Like if someone plays a really good character, they become my favorite like that. Like don't get me wrong, Sebastian in this is amazing as well, and Gwendolyn is really good. But I don't know if it's just that I felt more drawn to Brad Cage, but I like this character. I liked it for some reason. I really liked it.
There's nothing wrong with liking the villains, man. Nothing wrong.
Yeah,
with
he was just like cocky, arrogant, you know, the smart ass jokes.
Job. Like, yeah.
Like I was really liking it. And then when he turned, bad at the end, I thought like I wouldn't really count. What's his name? Who's the driver? What was his name? Ralph. I wouldn't count him.
Rolf. Yeah.
I think he was just scared to go against Brad because he's more of a
lackey. Like he just kind of followed.
Yeah. But he just for some reason I felt more drawn to him.
I didn't actually see him turning against them coming.
That's right.
I thought there was going to be a bust up, but like I didn't think it was going to go with them splitting into 2 groups and stuff like that. I thought they were going to do all the heists together, and the detective was going to be the main sort of nemesis. He wasn't the bad guy type, but I thought he was going to be the nemesis in the movie. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize we were going to kind of end up with 2 nemesis. The detective, whose name I've forgotten. Is it Interpol? Sorry. And
he's really bad. He's trying to stop the bad guys.
Well, no, he wasn't the bad guy, but he was more the foil for the group of thieves. So I thought, but yeah. So this kind of movie did need a villain because it actually, in this movie, you were rooting for the villains. So they kind of needed a villain where, the Interpol agent really was doing his job. So you couldn't really root against him because really, he should be catching bad guys.
I was totally rooting against the Interpol guy.
That's the thing. That's the way the movie had been. But that's the way the movie had been designed. Though. Like it's been designed for you to root for the bad guy. So but you they were nice thieves, so to speak. And like the fact that Gwendolyn even took the ammo out of Brad Cage's guns. So because she didn't want to hurt anyone. She just wanted to steal the money. So anyway, I think it was a good choice, Brad Cage. He was a great character, to be honest. And I did love his introduction when it came up, Brad Cage, and I was a bit like, Brad Cage? I was like,
everybody else had like a regular name, and then you get to him as Brad Cage. Oh God, like really?
Brad Cage, that was like awesome, really, as a name. Well, so who's your favorite, Jasmine?
Dieter.
Brad Cage.
Well, Sebastian. Sorry, I keep calling him Dieter, but yeah, Sebastian, my favorite. He was my favorite in the first film. He's my favorite in this one. He's just impossible not to like. I mean, like his nervousness, the way that he jibber jabbers on, and like the way that he gets so engrossed in like what he's doing. I love his quirks.
It reminds me of a cooler Mr. Bean.
Yes.
A modern day Mr. Bean.
He has the same kind of faces that Mr. Bean pulls, but yeah, for sure. Like the like almost like the bumbling idiot, right? Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was torn. Like for ages, I did love Ruby, Ruby Karina. I did love Karina. I did think she was quite feisty, but I'll be honest with you, I think Gwendolyn was my favorite character in this movie. I'm like you, I think she's an amazing actress. And do you know what, like, obviously as a British man, I like to see the Brits coming up there, and to think of her origins was a British soap, Hollyoaks. So I'll be honest, I don't really watch soaps, but like to know that she's from Britain and like been in a couple of things. She literally went from like I've got her IMDb up in front of me, but Hollyoaks, and she did like one episode of Misfits, which I also love, and then suddenly she's like, I think she did something else, and then she's suddenly in Fast and Furious 7. That was like a big
something
thing.
else. She was in Game of Thrones.
No. Like
I only watched Game of Thrones, but I loved her in Fast and Furious.
Yeah. No. I knew she was in I knew she was in Game of Thrones. Sorry, I just had her IMDb up in front of me. I don't know what this other thing was. 28K. I never heard of that. But she's been in loads of things that I love, like Maze Runner, one of the Maze Runner sequels. I love all the Fast and Furious that she's in. I actually think she does comedy really well in the Fast and Furious franchise. But she's obviously not in the main frame in Fast and Furious. I think the last one though, it was quite good that she got put, like, it was quite funny that she got put in the driver's seat and was like, I can't drive. I did think that was actually quite good, but to actually make her pretty much the star of this movie along with Sebastian, it was like a dual hander between the two of them. She handled being the main star of a movie, I think, really well. And I think the way she handled comedy in this, she wasn't outright comedy. It was just done subtly, and her cleverness of her role, I think, was really good. And I think the combination of Sebastian and Gwendolyn, their chemistry between the two of them was just really outstanding for me. I think they worked really well. So yeah, I enjoyed seeing her on screen, and also it's nice to see that she's getting recognized more as someone who can lead a franchise. And it actually did get me thinking, like, 15 to 20 years ago, you probably wouldn't have had such strong female leads in a movie like this. They would have been more girlfriend. And I actually have to say, like, I love seeing the fact that where we are now as a society, that we can actually be comfortable, like, seeing female leads. I've always been comfortable with it, like, even from back when I was like teenage, early 20s. I used to love stuff like Dark Angel, like with Jessica Alba, but there just wasn't enough of that stuff. And it's just great now to be seeing more female leads that aren't the girlfriend or the, I don't know, the wife or whatever, like, that
have been upgraded from something other than a love interest.
Yeah. I know there was a bit of love interest between the two of them, but it wasn't the driving factor of these movies. So it was cracking the safes, she wanted to be known for cracking these safes. It wasn't about the money. She wanted to be part of getting in these safes. That was the driving force for them.
The female, I saw her as the female Robin Hood. She was the Robin Hood.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I like the fact in the cafe as well, when she went through the bits and pieces she'd stolen in the cafe and said, don't worry, I'll be returning these items. Well, except for this gun. I'm not going to give the gun back. So I think I can see what you're saying about the Robin Hood thing. She didn't really want to cause any harm to anyone. So, I mean, yeah, she probably was going to keep some of that money for herself. But she wasn't really out to cause harm to people. So anyway, let's talk about the structure of the movie and the script, and whether we've got any favorite scenes, and if there's anything maybe we'd change at all. Start with you, Matt. So what did you think about the overall structure of this movie?
I really liked it. I didn't feel with the humor. See, I'm one of those, I'm anti-humor in a lot of films, because some of it just feels very, very forced. Like some of it, they say the jokes when it shouldn't have to. Like everything, the structure just felt natural. It felt real. Like with the flashbacks, with the story, the way it went, it worked perfectly in my eyes. It was done really good. And my favorite scene, it'd be, I think, when he was doing the safe competition and he won. For some reason, I don't know, that's one scene that just always sticks into my head, that one. And then, like Jasmine was saying, when she was going through the first bank robbery, and it's like, it's already done, it's on your lap, like
that was brilliant.
That I think was done really good as well. But I just felt that, I just liked the fact that it had humor, but it just didn't feel forced at all. Just was all natural, and it was just
organic.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was very organic. Yeah,
it's very organic. Yeah. So no, that was my probably favorite two favorite scenes.
So anything you would have cut?
To be honest, no. To be honest, no. Like, no. Trying to think about it, no.
Sounds pretty good, really. What about you, Jasmine?
Yeah, I don't think I would cut much either, or anything actually. As far as the structure, loved it. I loved how it started with him uploading his first, or not his first, but like uploading the YouTube video. Like that's how this starts, and then we get into his mundane life, right? So I just kind of love how they set the tone for that at the very beginning. I honestly, I love the way that this is written. This to me, it feels very much in the same vein of the Suicide Squad, the second one that was directed by James Gunn. Like, it's that kind of film where you're talking about serious stuff, serious things happen, people actually do get hurt, but there's so much humor, and the humor is integrated so seamlessly into everything else that's happening that you don't, like, at some points you don't know if you're watching a serious film or a comedy, like, but it all works. It works so well together. I just I love the construction of this film. The use of flashbacks. It's a recurring theme with Geeks Unleashed. We talk about flashbacks all the time. The problem when flashbacks are done poorly, it's because they're trying to give you information that is relevant to the actual timeline of the main story, right? So they're cheating because they're giving you information from the past instead of showing you that information in the present day. Whereas the way that they use flashbacks in this film, they're giving you information about the guy that created the thing that drives the film, right? So it has nothing to do with the present timeline. It doesn't affect the present characters. It is basically background information, and that's exactly what flashbacks should be. Flashbacks should always just be background information that have no impact on the actual story. So they use that so well, even when they did the introductions to the ragtag crew, like going back and showing you how, Karina was a hacker when she was a kid, or showing you Rolf as like a valet driving all these cars. Like, that information you could have done without it, and it would not have affected the story or our relationship to these characters as the story progresses. So the flashbacks are not giving you new information, and they're doing exactly what flashbacks are meant to do. So they utilize flashbacks so well. But also just the storytelling. It was always moving forward. It never felt like we were going backward, even if some things were a little bit predictable. Like, you knew there was going to be a falling out between Brad Cage and Sebastian. You could see that coming a mile away. But it's the journey, right? Like, we know what the destination is going to be, but like, how do we get there? So just kind of watching everything play out, even if you knew how things were going to play out, especially since this is a prequel. It was done, like, to me, it was done really well. The way that everything was put together, it made so much sense, and it just worked so well. I thought that everything clicked, and to me, it didn't feel like anything was really out of place in this film. The dialogue is nice and punchy. All of the characters and all of their dialogue felt natural to the characters. Nothing was out of place. And as far as like a favorite scene, like that first Paris heist, I really loved that one. But like, another favorite scene was after Matthias gets pushed out of the van and then has to go through all that drama to get back to his apartment
so funny.
in Potsdam. Like, when he spills hot tea on himself, and he's like, "Oh my god, I burned off my chest hairs." And Karina's like, "Do you even have any?" And he's like, "Yes, they're blonde, and I don't ever really see them, but they're there, and they were glorious." I was like, "Oh my god, this is too much." I love it.
Do you know what, though? Karina was hilarious. So, like, just to be honest with you, it's just the humor and action and drama is balanced so well. I'm like you, Matt. I put comedy really low down the bottom of things I want to watch. If I sit down to watch something, I rarely go. Comedy is not always the first choice. Like, for me, I'm action, drama, sci-fi, fantasy, pretty much all of that, comic book movies, all of that stuff is way above comedy. But when I do sit down to watch a comedy, it's gotta be hilarious. Like, it's got to be like the two comedies I watched recently I really enjoyed was Vacation Friends and Free Guy. But I really takes a lot for me to sit down and it's got to be a really good comedy. And like this here, there's funny moments in it. But like you said, Jasmine, this script is done so well. It's punchy. But I think what I like about it is how well balanced it is between the mundane, boring at the beginning. And it's not boring, but the slowness of some of the stuff and the build up, the setup of this movie is done really well. And then they go between setup, slowness, character building, action scenes, all within a nice 2-hour movie. And I have to say, there's nothing I would have cut out of this. It's done so well. Yeah. I think it was definitely a good time. Like whoever decided to edit this over, maybe the editors obviously took a different view on this movie as opposed to the last one. In terms of favorite scenes, actually, I loved the introduction scene when Dieter knocks on the door. Sorry, I keep going between Dieter and Sebastian. Knocks on the door and he's like, "Oh, sorry, is there a secret code? Because we're bad guys now." And she's like, "There's that." But I love how she actually. I think what I love is actually how Gwendolyn handles him. She's very much like his handler. And even at one of the heist scenes, she's like, "Oh, I'm calming him down." I know she wasn't really, but it was a combination of handling him and also. Handling Brad. She kind of handles them all, really. She is although Brad thinks he's the leader,
she's very much the leader.
Yeah. But I love the introduction scene, how she's walking them around, and then when Carolina calls Karina, calls him a nerd, and then she's like, "Whoa, way to make friends!" I love that whole moment. It's just. It actually felt quite natural. I've actually been having this conversation recently, with people about how men can kind of get away with being rude to each other. Like I could be rude to Matt and Matt be rude to me, but because men take it differently sometimes to women being rude to each other. And that's how. So there's a comedy over here in the UK called The Inbetweeners, and
I love it.
So I always think of the scene in The Inbetweeners where one of the guys is drunk and all his friends tell him it's a great idea to paint on the girl's driveway that he loves her. But men would do that to each other. But if girls did that to each other, it would be it would be taken very differently. And that's the kind of thing, as a youth, teenage, early 20s, we used to do to each other. But seeing not painting on people's driveways, we never did that. But but as men would wind each other up. But I like seeing the difference where Karina is kind of winding him up and the banter between them. I was like, I love it. I love the fact that she's giving him crap. And again, later on, when you're talking about, oh, did you even have any hairs on your chest anyway? I actually do love how Karina constantly gives him grief throughout the movie.
Yeah, in the van in the second heist when she's like, "Whatever, Mister, didn't want to make out."
I love that as well. She just gives him abuse throughout the whole movie. She kind of has built up a good friendship with him. So, which I do love how to be honest, I won't go into it, but now obviously podcasts and stuff, Jasmine would probably kill me. But me and Jasmine sometimes I'll text her abuse, and in the end it's that's it. I'm not coming on the podcast this Friday. But that's obviously because we built up a friendship. But I do love that though, when people give each other but natural friendly banter abuse. And I thought that was great. But it was balanced so well with the seriousness of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, the favorite scene of mine was definitely that introduction scene. I think it was just great how it was done. So
I just want to say two examples of films that don't, one that doesn't play the humor well and one that really does. So Blade Trinity, and I love Ryan Reynolds to death, but Ryan Reynolds did not belong in Blade Trinity because his humor did not fit that film whatsoever. No. That was bad. But Ryan Reynolds in The Hitman's Bodyguard is fucking brilliant. That movie makes me laugh so hard that I need my inhaler.
That's really good.
It sends me into stitches every time. It's that serious kind of stuff, but him and Samuel L. Jackson together is just comedic gold. They do that balance of serious and funny really well in Hitman's Bodyguard.
I
You were talking about the Suicide Squad, the second one. I hated it because of the comedy. Hated it. Hated Peacemaker. Hated it.
Oh my god.
we really liked Suicide Squad. The
I
second
liked it
one.
so much better than the first one.
Oh,
That's
the
when I
first one
talk
was
about
so bad.
forced humor. That had all forced humor, where this movie, Army of Thieves, didn't have one bit of it.
But yeah, I
Squad's
do
all
think Army of
forced.
Thieves did the humor better than Suicide Squad did. But I kind of thought Peacemaker was freaking hilarious.
See, I was,
See, it's okay.
I've got
it's
rant
okay.
videos on
We
my
agree to disagree.
YouTube about it.
Yeah, the next video, guys, you never guess. Met these guys, went on their podcast, and they're idiots. They loved Suicide Squad. Let me tell you why they're wrong.
No, it's all right to like it. It's all right to like it.
So this is in the same universe as Army of the Dead. We've talked about different directors. I just wondered, like, Matt, how do you feel this movie compares to Army of the Dead? Like, do you feel that this movie actually has a natural fit in the same universe? What are your thoughts in
100%.
terms of how they...
I think what they should have done was this should have been the first film, and then Army of the Dead should have been the second film. I think Army of the Dead would have been a lot more enjoyable if Army of the Thieves was first, or if people haven't watched it, they watch Army of Thieves first, and then Army of the Dead. I think it makes Army of the Dead a bit more enjoyable. That's what I personally think. Because I like the universe that they're building, and I hope we're getting more of it. But I just feel this one topped Army of the Dead.
What about you, Jasmine?
I think it does fit well, even though it does have a slightly different tone. It still feels very much in line with Army of the Dead. But I think that has a lot to do with Sebastian being so prominent in both films. Because without him, there's no real connection. Like, sure, we see Tanaka, and eventually we see Batista's character at the very end. But other than Sebastian, there's no direct connection to what's happening in Army of the Dead. But like, even tonally, like, Army of the Dead was a little bit heavier than this film. There's a lot more violence in Army of the Dead than there was in Army of Thieves. But it's still, like, story-wise and the way that everything is kind of presented, it all still feels very connected. So even though it's different times, different directors, different cast, it definitely still feels like like they belong together.
I think they actually worked really well. I think I hadn't thought about it before, but yes, I do think actually it would have been a nice move to have this come out first. I can see why they went with Army of the Dead first, because it's the big blockbuster movie. But I personally would have actually, thinking about it in hindsight, I actually would have been happy if they'd have released this first, and it would have made Army of the Dead a lot more intriguing. I actually think it would have been quite cool to have shown this prequel first, to see this zombie stuff in the background, because you would have been constantly like, why is there zombies like in America, and like, why is this not like a bigger thing? Because I always watch zombie things like that. I have to say, most zombie stuff, other than like 28 days later and 28 months later, like, most zombie stuff is set in America. And even when they do show it, they always show it localized to that area. And you always have to wonder, like, I always wonder what else is going on, like, what's going on in the world. So this kind of makes me think, like, when you're seeing the background of some zombie thing going on, it is quite cool to see actually people just getting on with their lives. Like, and like, if you relate this to COVID, like, how many people, like, COVID, like when Italy was going nuts and people were still getting on with their lives, like, and stuff like that. And it just makes you think, like, I guess people just want normality, even if there's a crisis going on elsewhere. So I would have been quite happy to have seen this the other way around. Like, so if people haven't seen Army of the Dead, I actually think you could watch this quite easily, go first, and without worrying about being a prequel. So
I'm gonna disagree with both of y'all on that one. I think Army of the Dead definitely belonged first in line. Because without Army of the Dead, there'd be no interest in Sebastian in the first place. But I also like the way that Army of the Dead literally drops you in the middle of this like zombie thing, and you kind of just like, okay, so zombies, like let's do this. Like they don't waste any time with build up. Like we had the beginning scene with the army, but like other than that, there's no build up, no mystery, no nothing. It's just like boom, zombies. Like
Yeah.
so I don't know. I kind of like the order because the first film makes us interested in all of these other things. And
Hmm.
so this film coming later, even though it takes place before, it to me it kind of answers a lot of the questions that I had about the first film. So
Hmm.
I
Well,
like the release order.
I do think though, despite the difference in directors, I do think the style was still there between the two of them. So this felt very connected, and unlike you, I didn't realize it was by a different director until we were ready to record. So, um, so it's very difficult to say this, but do you think there was a message in this movie? Do you think this movie was telling you anything, Matt?
Yeah, kindness, as much as it doesn't, but I think just knowing, like, just seeing how Sebastian, like you guys say, like the Monday to Friday boring job, and kind of just go do something that you enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
as weird as it sounds,
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
enjoyed doing what they did, and they all did
Mhm.
it for a reason. They all had a reason why they did it. But just that, like, if you kind of look at, if we have to pick a message, I don't really see a message, but if I have to pick a
I
message,
know. Do you know? Sometimes I think you watch something and there isn't a message. Like,
no.
but I just wonder. It's curious though to pick your brains and just think: is there a message? I think honing in on your point though about Sebastian's boring Monday to Friday 9 to 5 life, and he's like, "Oh, get ready for another boring day." I mean, we've all been there. Like,
Yeah.
you set your alarm, you get up at 6, you get ready, you leave the house by 7, you're at work by sort of 8-ish, you get home at 6, you make dinner, you watch some TV, you go to bed. And let's be honest, that is most of our lives. So,
And sometimes, if
uh,
you're lucky, you come home and you do what you love, which is recording videos about locksmiths from generations past. And even though nobody watches them, it still makes you happy. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna go with Matt. Do what makes you happy. That's
Yeah, what
that's the
makes you happy.
message.
Like, he left his job, even though what his other job was like I would love to have been an actor. I would have loved to do acting, but I've always been worried about how am I going to support my home, pay my mortgage, and all that stuff. And like, he just like, screw it. I'm just, all right. What his job is going to pay him money to support everything he does, but it's just like, I'm not doing my Monday to Friday. My dream is safe, so I'm going to go and break open some safes. That's how I see it.
do you know what though? Like, I think this whole, I have pretty much have a 9 to 5. I think Jasmine has a 9 to 5. I don't actually,
Sure do.
I don't actually know what you do, Matt. But do you have a 9 to 5?
Yeah, I got a 9 to 5. I'm a sales rep, so 9 to 5.
We're all we're all 9 to 5ers then. But I actually have to say, having had this podcast for just under 2 years, it actually has given me something like, kind of, it's probably sad to say, like something to look forward to at the end of the week. So I think it really helped with lockdown, especially. But I intend to keep going, like beyond COVID. And me and Jasmine will be 70 years old doing this,
Well,
like, and that would be quite good. But putting my false teeth in before we record. And but no, I do think though, like, I think I can see what you're saying though, like having the 9 to 5. There's so many of us that want to do something beyond the 9 to 5. Now, obviously, don't condone robbing, murdering, or anything like that. But but if there is something you want to do, whether it's like I don't know, hot air ballooning, like, I think this last 2 years of actually having a lot of our movements restricted, if there is something you really want to do, just go and do it. Like, just don't be sitting there every day at your 9 to 5, whether you're working from home now or whether you are going back out to the office or the shop or wherever your base is. If there is something you want to do, like, go to Australia, I've always wanted to go to Australia. Like, I've always wanted to go to Prague. Those are places like I really want to go to, and I need to make them happen. So I think I'll probably take that from this movie, that don't just do your 9 to 5.
well, that's the conclusion that Sebastian came to at the very end, because he was like, when you get down to it, like, I just thought of all the adventures that I could have with Gwendolyn, and like how different our lives would be if we were just out adventuring together.
Yeah. So just to tie it back to the end of this movie, the movie ends with Dieter, Sebastian getting on a boat, leaving Gwendolyn. It does leave a lot of plot threads hanging in the air. So Gwendolyn obviously gets arrested. Potentially is going to prison. Ruby, I keep saying Ruby. Karina obviously has been arrested, but actually that was the end we saw of her. So we don't know Gwendolyn and Karina are sharing a cell somewhere.
Yeah, the whole crew got arrested except for Dieter.
Yeah. So we don't know I don't really care about the others, but I want to see Karina and Gwendolyn again. Although it would be interesting to see Brad in a zombie world. Like maybe they might all reconcile. Anyway, so it ends, and then you get to sort of tie nicely. And I do think this was quite cool because I did rewatch the beginning of Army of Dead. So that scene where they walk into the locksmith shop in the Army of Thieves, they actually expand on that scene. They walk in and they see some guy at the counter and ask for him, and they go out the back, but they don't show that bit in Army of the Dead. So I assume that they actually filmed that, but then edited it into our Army of the Dead, like we've just shown them at the back. And that was the only scene they showed. So when the titles came up, I honestly was really hoping for some sort of mid-credit scene. I really like had visions of like them showing Gwendolyn, maybe like saying she was going to go after him or something like that. That's kind of my hopes for the third one. So we know a third movie's coming. But I really hoping it's going to show the kind of the gang getting back together and a combination of who because the daughter's left from Army of the Dead, isn't she? I forgot her name.
She was the only one that survived. And Omari Hardwick survived, but he's going to turn into a zombie in Mexico.
I mean, he's pretty much gone. But I kind of hope like the daughter, whose name I've forgotten, Gwendolyn, and all that kind of team up together. I don't know if that's the plan or not. But man, have you got any hopes for a potential sequel?
I reckon what they could do is because. How he had the money. He had the money, didn't he? He took the money to Mexico.
To California.
So he's got the money.
Omari has money in Mexico, and then Dieter took money back to California.
So, after the bomb.
Oh, after the bomb, he had two bags. Bags of money.
So I reckon what they could do, because obviously introducing that cast in this, I reckon they're going to be in the third one, and I think the cast from Army of Dead is going to be in the third one, and I think they can do something where Batista's daughter somehow teams up with these guys because they're good at planning missions, and their mission is going to be planning to get that money from what's his last name again? Hardwick. The guy that ended up, the one that ended up in Mexico with the money. So they're going to have a mission to get that money off him. Something like that. Like, if that's the way they're going to go, if it's going to be more of a heist kind of feel to it. But I wouldn't mind seeing a spin-off of the spin-off of, Gwendolyn and her crew. Maybe not, Brad not getting a part of it. Maybe the driver getting back part of it and them doing another mission. Obviously, I don't want them to find another safe cracker, but I think... I think they can, the way they've done it, they can have them all in the same film from Army of the Dead and Army of the Thieves. They can find a way for them to meet. It could be Gwendolyn going there, trying to track down Sebastian, trying to find it where he is. She crosses paths with Batista's daughter. They then talk about it, knowing that he's got the money, and then they go from there. They can do it, but but
are they going to?
Are they going to? I would like them to, because I think they've all got the chemistry and they'll all have the chemistry to work good together. Yeah. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
So Planet of the Dead is the third film, is what it's going to be called. Yeah. And Snyder recently did an interview. I think it was either Variety or The Hollywood Reporter. And he said that nothing is off the table, including time loops, time travel, realms to other worlds, portals. So who freaking knows? Like, I mean, it sounds like Planet of the Dead is going to be a little bit of everything. So we'll see what we get with.
Yeah, I
that
saw
one.
that about portals and time loops. I
Yeah.
mean, is that? I mean, is that again like him just merging genres? So we had heist movie and zombie movie in the first one, and then we this was kind of just heist movie.
Yeah.
But I did like in Army of the Dead the blend of the genres. So maybe is he thinking for my finale? You know, are we going to have
sci-fi heist movie? Time travel thieves?
Time travel zombie movie? Is that what we're going to have? I mean, again.
Maybe.
Is there any time travel zombie movies out there? I don't think there are.
Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I think it was in this film. Wasn't there a bunch of guys in Army of the Dead that were already dead that looked like them, and people were saying that it's a time loop? The original people that went to crack into the safe in Las Vegas, there was a crew just before they got to the safe that were dead already.
Yes.
Oh, well, they think that guy sent another crew, didn't they?
Yeah, well, but they're saying,
they all died like along the way. So they
they're saying that was actually them, and there's a time loop, because when you bring up the time loop, I remember there was theories saying that was actually them.
Someone did say
and
that,
there was stuck in
they
some
said,
kind of time
"What if
loop.
this was us?" And then everybody kind of paused to look at. Yes.
So
I hadn't thought
in the interview he mentions time loops. There was theories
that is
was
the secret of the Gotemerdong safe, is that it is in itself a portal to another world.
Oh, do you know what? It's making me actually really keen to see this. This movie is meant to be out next year. Anyway.
Not too long to wait.
I know. Do you know what they should have done is released it by Christmas. They should have released all three in one year. That would have been freaking
spread
amazing.
The love, Mark. They got to spread it out, all right?
No. I don't like waiting. So right. They do that too often, make us wait. So right. Matt, out of 5, where would you rate this movie?
If you guys doing out of 5, I will say it was a 4 originally, until I found out that Matthias directed it as well. So it's going to 4.5.
Oh wow. Okay, Jasmine.
4.5. Same. I loved it. I liked it. I did like it better than the first film. So 4.5.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Nice. I think there was nothing wrong with this movie. It was a perfect movie. There was like we said it at the beginning, though. There's nothing we would have taken from it. So I think that they did everything well. The time, the length of the movie, perfect. The script was perfect. The acting was perfect. They had a brilliant cast. Even secondary and third tier characters were done well. I loved the settings, where they were based, everything like that. I love seeing all these different parts of Europe, just everything, every little detail was so well thought out. Even there's little bits when he just gets up and goes to lunch and all, just the pajama thing. There was so much detail in here. I loved it all. I loved the chemistry between them. I was like, I watched this movie twice this week, and I was like, oh, I love this movie. So
I'm a much bigger Matthias Schweighöfer fan now than I was before, so for sure. So
now I've watched it twice in 1 week. I won't watch it for a while, but I have to say as well, honestly, Nathaniel Emmanuel, who Hollyoaks, Game of Thrones, Fast and Furious, and this movie, I think those are the only things I've seen her in. But the Maze Runner films, and she for me is a standout in this movie. But it's just a great movie. And I do think, if you're not an Army of the Dead fan, I do think you could still sit down and watch this without worrying about the zombies.
Yes, you could watch this film without having seen Army of the Dead, and you lose nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing you don't get are the Easter eggs that are in this film. That's it. But
there's a few
that
little
doesn't change
things
the story at all.
Yeah, there's a few little things along the way, but you can ignore those. It's not a problem. So, anyway, Matt, you still there?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh, man, we froze. We were so close.
Oh, hold on. Oh, Matt's back.
There he is. Okay.
Literally, we were just about to end the episode. I was like, oh, he's gone.
It just flicked off and on for me for some reason, my internet, but I'm back.
No worries. So 4.5 from you two, 5 from me. We'll call it a day with the review, and we'll end the show. So next episode, of course, we're going to be reviewing the latest MCU edition, The Eternals. For that episode, we're going to be joined by Brandon from Comics Kings. So look forward to seeing that next week from us.
And don't forget, we did start a second podcast series where we tackle some of the most essential graphic novels of all time. Our 11th
This one.
late to the party book club episode was Batman: The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. That episode dropped just in time for spooky season at the end of October. And our next book club, we're going to be talking about the first 2 volumes of Fables.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So you can follow us everywhere on social media. We're Geeks Unleashed on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We don't really put much on YouTube, but go look us up on there as well. And drop us, I was just jumping into something there. But Matt, where can they find you on social media?
You can Instagram Talking Pop Culture and YouTube Talking Pop Culture. So
and you can
pop in.
Everything.
Yeah, you can pop in, yeah. Is that your catchphrase, or did you just make that up?
Made that up. Hey, you guys are more than welcome to come. We do a live show. Do a live show every week, so you guys are more
I actually last week, because when you do it, normally it is around the time we're recording, and I think I might have caught you last week before we started recording. I actually only popped in for like 5-10 minutes.
We didn't record last Friday.
Oh, that was why we didn't record last Friday. Yeah, apologies. So normally when you're going live, we're also recording because it works well for the time difference for me and Jasmine. So I don't normally catch you live, but that's it. That's what happened last Friday. We didn't record. We recorded earlier in the week. We recorded on a Wednesday, and that's very unusual. So we normally record Friday and drop the episode on Sunday, but we recorded on Wednesday because we had a few guests, and it worked out well for all of us. And so, yeah, last Friday, I remember I sat down, I put YouTube on, I saw you were live, Matt, and I quickly did drop a couple of comments. But yeah, that was the first time I've ever caught you live. So,
and I feel free to pop in, and anyone else, feel free to pop in, hit a sub to community. We won't ask you to donate or anything like that. We have charity. We do every month. We do a community giveaway. I'll randomly give money or like an Amazon gift card or comics to people that just continue to, comment and be a part of the community, do a subscriber giveaway. And now we've got a trivia competition that happens every week. If you defend your title 3 times, you will win a prize as well. So it's all about giving you guys things. So if you just want to come in and win some stuff, come in and win some stuff.
That's trivia. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's good trivia. It's good fun. It's with a twist. If you get the question wrong, you miss out on the next question.
Oh, dang. That's tough.
Good fun. So, but thank you very much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I love meeting new people, talking. So I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. It's been good.
Thanks for coming on, man. All right. And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please give us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I appreciate it, and good journey as we occasionally say. So, and if Matt has seen Master of the Universe, I'm sure he'll get the reference. So
you're not missing much, I promise.
I've watched it. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's terrible, right?
Right, press the eject button. Right, anyway, we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.